Today we're going to talk about Mars and how it functions, and I want to show you all what astrologers feel are correspondences to an archetype. So archetypes, a definition of archetype from Carl Jung is archetypes organize our perceptions, collect images, regulate, modify, motivate, and even develop conscious contents, plot the course of our developments in advance, set up bridges between the ego and its instinctive and collective roots, and lead the channeling and conversion of our instinctual energy. So this is our Mars function, and these are what are called correspondences. The planet Mars is the ruler of Aries, and it is Yang, and it is a fire sign. Some of the correspondences to Mars are the pioneer, the ram, red blood cells, muscles, the adrenal glands, red, orange, iron, red chili, cayenne pepper, blisters, steel, sharp instruments, war and battles, weapons, soldier, warrior, military, competitions, injuries, fire, fireplaces, fireman, fire truck, athlete, karate master, assertive, aggressive, anger, bold, salespeople, scissors, hairdresser, gangster, butcher, and surgeon. These are all corresponding to our Mars archetype. And so how we function, let me get that keynote out of the way. As you can see, oops, my door flew open. The symbol of Mars is a circle with the cross of matter over it and an arrow pointing upward or thrusting upward, indicative of action. And it is our masculine side. So as you can see by that archetype slide that I showed, Mars is the ruler of many parts of an archetype. So we all share in this basic need for survival, for action. It is the part of all of us that takes action and asks for what we want and goes after our desires with gusto. The colors red and orange have always been associated with Mars. And I was actually told once never to buy a red car because they're in more car accidents than usual. And I listened. So whether we are male or female, we all have a Mars. And a healthy use of our Mars is what we are striving for. Naturally, it's going to be much more active in males than it is in females. But women too have a Mars and will tend to be very much attracted to those and admire those who have our Mars sign and resemble our inner Mars, our male side. So women have a Mars and a male side just as men do. And which is why our Mars comes in handy, because that is what shows us our desires. And nothing would happen without desire. And we feel the most happy and fulfilled when we get what we want, what we desire. And when we don't get what we want, I'm of the belief that the universe has something else in store for us. But the most important thing is to stay true to ourselves. And that's why Mars is so valuable to us. It's the part of us that is self-focused, self-centered, and leads to our own self-actualization. As Sam Keen says, we have to have fire in the belly in order to actualize, in order to be true to ourselves. And Mars is the opposite sign of Libra. And Libra, of course, is the you focused. It's the partnership focus. So Aries and Mars is an axis that we all have in our birth chart somewhere. So Mars is the part of us by house, sign, and aspect in our birth chart that shows us where our inner warrior is going to take action and feel passion about where and what we want, and can sometimes even be too forceful. So some of the feelings of our Mars are passion, anger, sexual desire, courage, and autonomy and independence. And there are more keywords for Mars for every planet, actually, and every sign on my website, shadowdance.com. Positive and negative. Oh, I forgot to turn off notifications. Let me do that real quick because it's so noisy. Okay, so again, Mars is our fight for survival. It's our courage to be who we came here to be, which makes us feel alive and vital. And it's how we take a stand when we're being pushed by others into needing to set boundaries or in getting our needs met. And it's our Mars that says no. Mars is our fighting spirit. At 2 years old is when our Mars makes its first return to where it was when we were born, because it has a 2-year cycle. And at 2 is when we first learn how to say no. And that's something that will actually serve us for the rest of our lives, because we will need that Mars in us to be active, to be in healthy relationships with others or with ourselves. Because unless we learn to say no to what we don't want, we can't always be nice, as it will not go well long term. It will not work out. We have to have both sides of us in balance. So that's, when somebody is not expressing their Mars, it can get passive aggressive, and that can get very entrenched early on when someone has been overpowered and is not able to defend themselves. But I went into passive aggressive behaviors in week number 9, so you can catch the replay here on Facebook or even go to my YouTube channel. I believe I called it anger and passive aggressive anger. So some of us are actually born with a gentle Mars. And those are the signs of Cancer, Pisces, and Libra. These signs are more apt to have problems with aggression and independence for various reasons. Cancer, like the crab, will come at you sideways. Pisces is very indirect and will be vague and confusing. And Libra wants to keep the peace and is just too concerned with pleasing others. But it is still a Mars, and that Mars is going to be asserted one way or another. And there's a term now called ghosting, which is pretending nothing happened when both people know that something has happened. And that is a very unhealthy expression of our Mars function. So we can't be saints and always be nice. It's not possible. Nobody is a saint and never gets angry. Jung spoke in MDR, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, his autobiography that he wrote with Anelia Jaffe, about a time when he was in India and he was following a guru around who was so kind and peaceful. And he said after 4 days of following him around, he started to feel really bad about himself. And then he said, I met his wife. His wife was living out the Mars function for both of them. So if something is making us mad, it is best for us to say something on the spot, if at all possible. And if we cannot, we need to learn to write things down and give it to the other person later so that we can both be in a real relationship which is what I call clean. When we're having to get somebody else to act out our Mars for us, that is not going to be a very healthy expression. And eventually it's going to trip both of those people up, because otherwise it's going to still be there underneath the surface. And sooner or later it's going to come out and be much worse than if we had just said something. Because if we don't say something and we don't say something and we don't say something, then our Mars can become rage. Another a placement of Mars that's difficult is the 12th house, because that is a Mars that has gone inside and is very self-sacrificing. And then you can also look at the aspects to Neptune, which rule that house. But I'm not going to go into our astrology that much here. I want to talk more about Mars's function and how it works. So yes, when we do not want to be an angry person, we will have angry people in our face, or we will provoke the other person, or we will get somebody else to carry that Mars for us unconsciously. We do this unconsciously. And then we'll ask ourselves, why am I attracting all these angry people? Well, what I like to say to that person is, what are you not asking for? What is it? Where do you need to speak your voice? What do you want? Where do you need to call the shots? What are you not saying that you need to say? All of that has to do with your Mars and your ability to assert yourself. So a healthy expression of our Mars is a major key to our psychological and our physical health, because we are mind, body, and spirit. And stuffing our Mars can somatize into our body, into migraines, headaches, fevers, scrapes, cuts, scars, wounds, various other illnesses, even cancer. When our Mars is overdone, we can hit below the belt and use emotional blackmail, coercion, and that can also lead to violence. And it's not a good idea to stuff our Mars unless we want to end up in prison. It's best to let it out slowly and carefully, but authentically and in the moment. As I said in that other talk, anger is like vegetables. Use it while it's fresh, because when it's fresh, it's related to what we're angry about. When we stuff our anger, it festers in the unconscious and it will come out sooner or later. Fever blisters in the mouth are a sign that you are angry and didn't say anything. I actually had this happen to me once in my mid-30s. I was, as a graphic designer, I have all these clients, and I had this one client who's very abusive in the way he would speak and in different things, and he was taking advantage of me. But because back then I needed the money, I would stuff it. I would just take it. And I just kind of let it go. But one night I was really angry and I went to sleep thinking about it. I was just thinking about it and thinking about it, how angry I was. I actually woke up in the morning with 10 or more fever blisters in my mouth. So trust me, you don't want to go to sleep angry about anything. Get it out. Another manifestation of our Mars when it's not working for us is being accident prone. Motorcycle accidents, car accidents, skiing accidents. These are all kinds of the way that the self in us is getting us to take a new direction in life. And it's really, when we have a great relationship with somebody, we can deal with our Mars and our negative expressions and our negative feelings. That is when our Mars with both people is clean. So a healthy Mars allows you to take care of yourself and ask for your needs to be met. In the book Evil, the Shadow Side of Reality, John Sanford says that if we don't use our anger or express our real feelings, our shadow will, because our shadow is much, much more honest. And when you think about it, if you are constantly stuffing your anger or your real expression, your unconscious is compensating and doing the exact opposite. It is building up a reservoir of all that energy that is being pushed into our unconscious. So yes, our shadow is much, much more honest, and it will come out. And we're often told that it is not of a high vibration to be on a spiritual path and to use our anger, that we have to learn how to curb our anger. But I would call that, and many people call that, but I would call that a spiritual bypass, to stuff our instincts. From a Jungian perspective, the psyche is a closed system, and that means that it is still there and it will go somewhere else. We will take it out on a person who cannot fight back, like a grocery store clerk or at the post office. Um, One of my friends was a spiritual teacher, and I had a conversation with her in my mid 40s when I was questioning everything about life and metaphysics, etc. Not that I'm still not doing that, I'm still doing that, but I had a long talk with her, and I asked her, do we ever get rid of our baser nature, in particular our anger? And she said, Lord, no. You would have been embarrassed to be with me yesterday at the post office. And so she admitted it to me that at 70, she was already in her late 60s, I believe, almost 70 when she and I had that conversation. And you could say that that is acting out, but it's a benign use of our Mars and a necessary expression of it, because as long as we're alive, our Mars is our energy force. And when we feel something, when we're angry, when we have something that we feel is intolerable, we need to say so. Becoming a bully or a macho man is overcompensation for a weak Mars. What they're doing when they're bullying people, a bully is trying to use their Mars by conquest or through force, even violence. And unconsciously, this person is usually suffering from a feeling of impotence, because you can find that in children who are bullies at school. They probably have a bully for a parent at home, and that energy, that Martian energy, is being expressed on somebody weaker that they know can't overpower them. So this stuff kind of starts really early on, but it's also very much in our chart. And we can see this when somebody has a very strong Mars or a very afflicted Mars with lots of squares or oppositions. So if you have a lot of Mars aspects in your chart, you want to know where they are and how to use them productively. And becoming a bully, it can, even happens in adults with words. Remember in that movie Goodwill Hunting, where Ben Affleck is trying to come on to this girl, and this smart aleck brainiac guy comes over and shoves him over and starts spouting off words and talking about what he knows, etc. And Matt Damon just jumps in and puts this guy in his place. And that guy backed off. So that's what often will happen when somebody's bullying somebody, is that if you stand up for yourself and look that person in the eye and say you will not take that they'll back off. So the wimp and the macho guy actually have the same wound, and that's a fear of impotence and a fear of powerlessness, because that's what's evoking that bullying behavior. And Jung also says in the Undiscovered Self that if we ignore our instincts, and Mars is instinctual part of us, is the most instinctual part of us, we will be ambushed by our instincts, because then they'll act against us. He also said, whatever one does not live, lives against one. So in order to individuate, we have to become ourselves, and that includes our Mars function. And another thing is an underdone Mars can leave us in a constant state of depression. And that's our own anger that's turned inwards. Anger is usually a message that something has become intolerable and we don't deserve it. We may feel disconnected or thwarted by life experiences. And if we are always acquiescing and calling that cooperation, trying to be our spiritual self, our body will know that something is amiss. So it's best to use our Mars and use it wisely. Otherwise, it can go into our body and turn against us. So there are a lot of healthy ways to use our Mars, like dancing, taking karate, taekwondo, joining a sports team, work in the garden, clean out the garage, go jogging. Even going for a walk is getting those muscles moving. And great sex, which Mars also rules, is a wonderful way to use our Mars. So Mars rules our muscular system and our adrenal glands, our fight or flight, instinctual self. We want our Mars to be on board and ready for action and ready to defend us if we need it. And Mars is also our motivation for life. And wisely used, it's our initiative. A person with a strong Mars has courage and spunk and chutzpah. Think about this. When you're using your Mars, you are being authentic. Authenticity is self-empowerment. And there comes a time in all our life where we will want to empower ourselves through our Mars function and have it on board. Because again, we may be destroying the peace temporarily, but long term, we will have an authentic relationship with others and with ourselves. My teacher, Pitman McGee, once said, "Why have a temper if you can't use it?" I like that. I remembered that. So becoming open, honest, and straightforward is a great use of our Mars, and it's actually honorable. It's honorable to be upfront. At least the other person always knows where you stand when you have a healthy Mars function. And also, don't beat yourself up when you impulsively say something, or you say something to another person and you regret it. Just apologize. Just go up to them and say, "I'm sorry." Those 3 beautiful words that we all have to learn how to say when we're in relationships, when we're with other people. I mean, when we're in relationship with many people, anger and expressions of criticism or whatever that bring up anger are going to occur. And we have to be willing to stand up for ourselves and take a stand so that our Mars is with us, not against us. So anyway, that is my talk for today, and I will go to Facebook right now and see if anybody's there and has anything to say. And I would really like it if y'all had, if this brings up anything for you all, if you would ask me or tell me what you're feeling, or just make a comment or two about what you got from my from this talk. And if you found value in it, please like it and share it. But let me go see who's there and what's going on. I see that one person has liked it and nobody has made any comments that I can tell. So I will again say thank you if you came later and caught the replay. And if you know of anybody who would value from this, please share it. My YouTube channel is under my name, and it has all of these different talks. So I will say goodbye for today and look forward to next Friday.